Subscriber, you're definitely not getting a present for Christmas. Okay, no. Um, I don't know. I don't know if you're like this, but my family just constantly switches over from Thanksgiving to Christmas, literally before Thanksgiving, really. But it's probably like, I don't know, like just after Halloween, and we're already switching. But whatever. I don't know. That's off topic. What are we talking about today? Darling, why do you regret it? Why do you regret it? Yeah, objectively, it's probably like a 6 or a 7. Um, but I really didn't like it that much, for a lot of reasons. But whatever. We'll get into it. Basic idea. This person's reincarnated, um, as like a pseudo villainess. In the original story, it's not really covered that well, but I think she's like meant to be a villain, but it's a little weird because her husband has this lover, this mistress, who's supposed to be like the original heroine, and all she really does is just try to stop him from getting with this girl, which I mean, I don't know, to me feels pretty reasonable if I'm being honest. Like, I mean, I don't know, it's just not that villainous to me to, have a wife trying to stop, you know, her husband and his lover. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. But the basic idea is she's trying to divorce this guy, get away from him, and live on her own because in the original, she ends up dying, right? In the original plotline, her character dies. So the basic idea is, she's doing everything in her power to break up with this husband, but then he ends up, regretting it and coming after her and trying to, keep the marriage going and blah blah blah, even though he was seeing this other person and not really seeming to regret it or anything. The basic idea with him, I guess, is that he kind of, I don't know, he's the kind of guy, it's one of those characters where they like covet things that they don't have, right? So he lost her now, or he's losing her, and now he wants her. And it's only like after she changed that he ends up caring, which I feel like, I can't have a lot of sympathy for a character that, seems to only care when they're about to lose something and not before that. So he's, I don't know, he seems like an asshole to me. Um, and also, she's very paper thin. This is one of those things where, like, you have a character that's just kind of doing things for the sake of a plot, but not necessarily standing out on her own. Like, she's not very unique, and she also just doesn't have like a personality. Her personality is just, I want to get rid of my husband. Like, there are times when, I don't know, for example, she has these like secondary male leads popping up, and they all, show a spark of interest, right? And she seems to like them. Like, she'll look at one of them and be like, "Oh wow, he's a great guy, and he's very likable, and I think we, match each other really well." But she still doesn't want to be with them, basically for no reason. Like, she's just like, "I love you, you're great, I like you a lot, but I don't want to be with you." And you could say at first it's like, oh well, maybe she doesn't want to be with them because she's trying to break up with her husband, and it would be, they could maybe that could screw up a court case or something. Like, she's not loyal, Belial. But then it's not really a spoiler, but like really early on, their marriage is basically broken up, and she still doesn't want to be with them just for no reason now. Like, there's no excuse now. She just doesn't. She just doesn't. Even though she seems to like them, she says they're really good guys, but she's just like, nah, I don't want to be with them. So I don't know. It's just like her character is just kind of nothing. She's just like, I need to get to the next plot point, and then she wants to get like, I don't know. There's characters that come to her and ask for like her help for a revenge plot, and then for some reason she thinks she can do that, even though she didn't even end her original, situation. Like, that's another thing. They use this idea of like there's like a period after a marriage is about to end where it's kind of like a reconciliation period where during this time span, if they decide they still want to be together, they can just forget about the divorce altogether. And in my opinion, it's just like a pointless plot device where originally it's like, okay, yeah, there's not going to be this marriage at all. Like, it's ended and you have like 2 months of this reconciliation. And then they're like, now it's like 4 years. And it's like, what is going on? You can't just arbitrarily change this. And I guess that's another thing. Like, a lot of the power in the story isn't with the main character, it's with the king. So her husband has connections to the king. I think he's like the duke or whatever. And the king's sign-off is required for any divorce. So he allows it, but it's basically on a whim. So if he decides to just change his tune one day, she's screwed. And it's kind of like, this feels... There's very little power in her court. So it doesn't really feel that satisfying whenever she gets a win, because you know it can just be taken away 5 seconds after she gets it. So it ends up being one of those situations where you're like, I don't really know what the point of this is. It's kind of just like, who cares? You know, she might win now, but 2 weeks later, well, the king is like, yeah, you're done now. I don't like you anymore. Bye-bye. It's like, it's just a pointless thing. And also, like I said, I mean, her whole husband is just a very unlikable character. Only really cares about her now that she's changed. Didn't even really consider her with the whole mistress situation. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where you just have a little fun at the start when she goes up to like the mistress and she's like, keep playing with them. It's gonna help my court case, and gives her money and blah 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 to just continue to act up and help her win her case or whatever. But then you realize like the case doesn't even matter because all of it hinges on the king. So at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, she can build up as much as she wants, but who cares? If the king decides no, then it's no. There's no getting around it. So it ends up just being a story where it's like, it feels like nothing matters because it all hinges on one character and their whims. So it's like, well, who the hell cares? It's just, you're just going through the, just through the ropes, just blitzing by. Also, all those male leads I mentioned before are very trope-like, so they're not very unique. She's very boring, one note. The husband's just unlikable. The king, I will say the king has like a little bit of a different vibe because he feels a bit older compared to most kings you would see in a story like this. Like he's he seems a decent bit older, and he also seems, I don't know, visually you would think like, oh, he's pretty mature, but then he ends up acting like, who cares what you think? I'm just gonna do what I want. So it's like, I don't know, very weird. I guess we'll just wrap up with the old SAE. What is the SAE? Well, it's story, art, enjoyment. Story-wise, I'm thinking 5. It's very plain, doesn't really do anything special, and I feel like a lot of the characters are not built up. It's just events happening to certain characters or very unlikable characters. The main character is very plain, nothing special about her. Just mid all around. Art-wise, I'll give it a 7. It's quality art. I don't have any issues with the art, but it doesn't really do anything unique. I don't think any of the characters stand out to me. I've seen other, styles very similar. It's just kind of quality, but not special. If it, if it had some unique designs and stuff like that, maybe I'd give it like an 8, 9, but it doesn't. It just doesn't do it. Enjoyment-wise, 4. I really didn't like it. I don't think most of the characters are likable. I think the main character's plain. And it's just boring. I mean, like, I don't know. I would expect more from, like, a plot line like this. I've seen other stories of similar, plot that have just do everything this does, but better. So it's like, why would I read this? So yeah, I don't know. Objectively, we're probably looking like about a 6, maybe a 7. It's It's fine, but it's not gonna blow your mind. Um, like the story's just it's very mid. I think you could push it to a 6 if you haven't read a lot, but it's just mid. The art, it's just, you know, it's quality, but not special. My enjoyment fairly low. I don't really like it. None of the characters are likable. It just wasn't fun. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be between about a 6 and a 7 objectively. Personally, I would probably knock it down to a 5. It's just not good. I didn't enjoy it. I don't think it does anything special. I don't think it stands out. Um, yeah, I don't know. And I feel like there are other stories that have very, 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 very similar premises that are just better. I really I don't know what to say. I mean, it's just there's other things that are better than it, so why would I read this? But yeah, I don't know. That's about it. I'd appreciate if you could like, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah. Maybe leave another story you want me to read down below. Even if I've read it already, I'll read it again. Who cares? And yeah, I'll see ya.